tells me this is going to be filmed and put on YouTube,
Yes, sir.
right? So when I'm through, let's hear it. Maybe we should practice. On a semi-serious note, whenever I go to a lecture, I spend like the first 10 minutes trying to navigate whether I really like the person or not. So I start out by saying, you're going to love me. So if you like me, don't waste the first 10 minutes trying to figure out whether you like me or not. Just get right to it. My interaction with you is always valuable too. So if you've got a question, once we start, put your hand up and we'll get right to it. I've done this a few times, but it's usually always a little bit different, so we'll have fun with it. There are people here in the room that are associated with a very important association affiliated with George Washington. So I'm here to impress because I want to be invited to speak to their organization. So this is a setup, just to get them here. So when we did the third book, Preston Hindmarch. Anybody knew Preston from Easton? Knew. He's still alive. He just lives in Florida. Yeah. When we did the third book, I went to Preston and said, we need I want to brand the series. And I came up with the I Knew George Washington series, because our stories, our books, are Washington's life seen through the eyes of people that knew him very well. All historic figures. Historic fiction, we breathe life into that story. Happy to say all of our stories are edited at Mount Vernon in Virginia. Did you get my message?
Did not.
I left it on your phone.
Okay.
Just happy that you're here and you're okay. I was starting to worry about you.
Thank you.
Stories are historic fiction, all edited at Mount Vernon for historic accuracy. So we claim to be 100% historically accurate with that individual telling us the story from their kind of unique perspective. So thus the I Knew George Washington. Washington, yeah, there we go. Washington drew that to be painted on carriage doors. I extracted it from a book that I have on Washington. So I went to Preston and I said, let's do the wax seal. Preston drew that GW just the way Washington did. And we actually have, we have a bookmark. I think I might have some with me. We do a bookmark with a reproduced wax seal, that a company that actually reproduces wax seals. So kind of colorful. But so we start out there. Now, completely, the first slide I'm going to introduce you to is completely off of this topic, but I saw it on my computer last night and I put it in here real quick. We're at the end of Black History Month, and I thought, I'm proud of this. Most everybody in the room knows who the person on the right is, but not too many people in the room, maybe some, know who the guy on the left is. Obviously Dr. King, and that's my father standing with him. They met in February of 1967 in Jamaica. My parents were there on vacation. My father talked about some commotion in the lobby. He saw King, he went over, he introduced himself. My father wasn't the quiet, shy type, right? And they had a nice conversation, and my mother went over with the camera, okay to take a picture. It was probably one of those ones with the flash bulb that fried people's eyes. So, nevertheless, something that we're extremely proud of, and that picture hangs in our office over in Phillipsburg. So, on to the documents collection. So, what I did was, I pieced together images of our manuscript collection. At the outset, the first half is going to be in chronological order, images that we've used in our books. Ironically, this one is the only one that we didn't use in our book, but I thought it would be kind of neat for Easton. So we're going to do chronological order for people that knew Washington or were associated with him in some way, minus this document. We actually purchased a document, and this came with it. It was part of the lot in an auction. So it wasn't as though I was looking to purchase this. When I opened it, the guy said, oh, there was this other piece in the lot, and here you are. This is the signature of Thomas Penn, son of William Penn, proprietor after his father's death, proprietor of Pennsylvania. I did a little research on him this morning. He marries a woman whose father is the First Lord Pomfret, born in Easton, Northamptonshire, England. So we're in Easton, and we have a Pomfret Club right around the corner. No coincidence. Penn signs this document, but what's interesting is, where are we? Conrad Weiser and James Logan, right, on account of Indian charges. So the two really important Indian agents, Logan is actually a royal governor to the state of Pennsylvania, the colony of Pennsylvania. So interesting content. I just was out in Carlisle yesterday and saw a sign for the Conrad Weiser House. Neat property out that way. 1736, early on. I think what I read was Penn just came here maybe in 1734, literally came to Pennsylvania. Born in England, living in England. A lot of your governors, royal governors, never really came here. So there's a long list of Virginian governors that had never been to Virginia. It was a royal plum given to you because of your affiliation with whoever was giving out those sort of awards, if you will. So you were compensated, but you never really came here. For instance, here in Virginia, a lot of lieutenant governors. So the actual person that showed up here was considered a lieutenant governor. And again, any questions, let us know. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through Washington's affiliation with other people. So in 1754, a young lieutenant colonel from Virginia begins the First World War here in the colony of Pennsylvania. So the first shots of the French and Indian War are fired here in western Pennsylvania. It sets the world on fire, mainly the struggle for North America between France and England will spill over into the rest of the world. It's our first recorded world war. We fight here, starts here. We fight in Europe, we fight in the West Indian Islands, we fight in India, we fight in the Philippines. All started by George Washington in the colony of Pennsylvania. About 1756, Washington is a young man on the move, and he does not like the fact that British provincial officers are paid substantially less than the equivalent rank, but born in England, right? So he's making half the pay that a lieutenant colonel from England is making, even though they're fighting in the same war. So what he knows is that the governor of Massachusetts, William Shirley, is not only the governor of Massachusetts, but he's also the head of all British forces in North America. So Washington decides he's going to take it upon himself to make his way from Virginia all the way to Boston to complain in person to Shirley that he's not being paid properly. What this does for Washington, who is also fairly well known because of his beginning of the French and Indian War, now it's 2 years later, so every major city that he visits en route to Boston is printing in their newspapers that Colonel Washington from the Virginian Regiment is in our city. First time in the city of Philadelphia, first time in the city of New York, Newport, Rhode Island, and then on to Boston. He meets with Shirley. Shirley, in a nutshell, pretty much tells him, you're all wet, go back to Virginia. So it's a failed mission for Washington, what he set out for, but he's introduced to these major cities for the first time, and his association with people in these cities is going to come back and be of help to him as he channels his life through history and through American history. One of my favorite documents, an extremely rare signature and not a household name, is Christopher Gist. So when George Washington is commissioned by the governor of Williamsburg, Robert Dinwiddie, about 1752, to make his way to the forks of the Ohio, where a French commander from Montreal, Canada, has come down and encamped. The governor in Williamsburg, representing the English king, needs someone to go to the French commander and tell him he's on British soil and he needs to go back to Canada. Washington's given that commission, but he's never been out there before. But his pitch to Dinwiddie is that I'm the man for the job because I'm one of the few white people with an aristocratic background that's been in that section of the world because I did surveying work when I was a young man. George, you got the job. Heads in that direction. But he needs somebody to get him out there. He needs somebody that knows the native population and that knows the terrain. He hires Gist to get him there. This is, I think, 1757. Yeah. So a little bit past that, Gist makes the claim that he saved Washington's life on 2 separate occasions on that trip. Once while a native guide that was leading them through some snow, carrying a musket, makes his way out in front of them. The muskets are reloaded. He turns and fires at Washington, and Gist knocks Washington out of the way, or he could have been injured or killed. The second incident on that trip is they're in a canoe on a river. The canoe capsizes. It's so cold. Now they're completely submerged in water. They make their way to an island in the middle of the river. It's so cold that when they wake up in the morning, the river has frozen completely and allows them to walk off the island to the shore. And Gist makes the claim that he saves Washington from drowning also in that river. So again, a really neat acquisition. If anybody travels through the Shenandoah Valley, you see a sign for the town of Creesapp. And there's the Creesapp name right there, Thomas Creesapp. So early Virginian document. And that western part of Virginia was so important to Washington. So if anybody's ever been to Boston and visited Faneuil Hall, great place right downtown, all right, the building that you visit today, and it's 18th century, but that building is the second Faneuil Hall. The first one burned. And when they decided, the town fathers decided to rebuild it, one of the prominent businessmen in Boston, and very faithful British subject, a guy by the name of John Hancock, runs that lottery. This is one of the lottery tickets with his signature. The reason that we, in 1765, the reason that we include this, fast forward in 1775, when George Washington, in June of that year, is given the commission as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Whose signature is on that document? Hancock, right? Now we recognize, most people will recognize Hancock's signature as the first individual to sign the Declaration of Independence. He signs it on the 4th of July. We have a document that we're working up to. That declaration, his signature is countersigned by the Secretary of Congress, Charles Thompson. We've got his signature in this collection as well. But I think the National Archives might have Washington's commission. At the end of the American Revolution, in Annapolis, Maryland, and kind of Washington's first step into immortality is to go in front of Congress and quite literally take the document that was given to him in June of 1775. He's carried it throughout the entire war with Hancock's signature on it. Hancock is gone by now. He's back in Boston. But Washington literally takes that document out of his pocket and holds it up. And he says, "You've hired me to do a job. I've done it. Now, if it's okay with you, I prefer to go home." Again, that kind of first step into immortality for Washington, which bears Hancock's signature on it. I'm not 100% sure. This little artwork of Hancock's underneath here has got a name. Supposedly, it has something to do with the ability to stop people from duplicating your signature. This was like a security, whether the back of your credit card's got the security code, the 3 numbers. All right, there's Hancock's 3 numbers on the back of his, right? Nice artwork on this piece. And you can see where it was folded for years, right? So this is a piece of Virginian money. 13 colonies were all printing our own money, right? Paper money. Printed in 1770, passed in 1769 at Act of the Assembly. And what always catches folks' attention is the use of the long S like Sam, comes off as an F right there, see it? We'll see that throughout. Washington is a member of this assembly. So he spends 16 years in the House of Burgesses in Virginia, kind of the lower house. Our federal government today is built on the British House of Commons and the House of Lords. Today, our senators are the House of Lords, so to speak. Those elected officials, the House of Representatives, are the lower house. It wasn't until I think the earlier 20th century that we as citizens voted for our senators. Senators were appointed by their state delegations. You didn't vote for senators right out of the gate. When the Constitution is being written, I think one of the members of the Virginia delegation said, okay, we're going to talk about the formation of the Senate. Now, when you guys go out tonight and you're in the city of Philadelphia and you're walking the streets and you're in taverns, look into the eyes of the people and you decide whether you think these people are capable of voting, electing their own senators. And they came back the next day and they said, no way, no, we're not doing that. Nevertheless, Washington's a member of that lower house in Virginia. Anybody been to Williamsburg and visits the Peyton Randolph house? Okay, there's Peyton Randolph's signature. And Colonial Williamsburg doesn't make too big of a deal out of it. I think it's used as a private residence. But if you're on Duke of Gloucester Street and you're closer to Merchant Square, on the right-hand side is the John Blair house. That home was occupied by this gentleman, John Blair Jr., who was also a signer of the Constitution. He was a member of the Virginian delegation for the Constitutional Convention. How about this little reminder here?
Yeah.
The counterfeit is death.
Tough with counterfeiters.
Right? And a great image of the Virginian coat of arms, right? Not a household name, John Lamb. I bought this one for myself. I did historic reenactment for a long time in John Lamb's artillery. They were artillery, they were members of the Continental Army. He lived in New York City, and he put his own artillery group together that fought throughout the entire Continental Army. He was severely injured at the Battle of Quebec on, I think, New Year's Eve, where Montgomery was killed. But of note, and we included this in the Lafayette book, Lafayette plays an enormous role in the Virginia campaign, which culminates in Cornwallis' surrender at Yorktown. Lamb, the day the first shots were fired at the siege of Yorktown, Lamb was the officer on duty that day. 1771, so it's, yeah, it is New York, right? At about the time that Washington makes his way to Boston, there's a young man who is beginning his career as an artist. His name is John Singleton Copley. Anybody familiar with Copley? All right, so Copley paints the likes of Paul Revere, John Adams, Sam Adams. Anybody that's anybody in Boston is being painted by Copley. This is a receipt for one of his paintings. Boston, 1773, receipt of the Honorable John Winthrop, Esquire, so many 10 guineas in full for his lady's portrait. That portrait hangs at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. They have the painting, I've got the receipt. I ran into one of the curators there one day looking at the painting, and I made her an offer. The painting in exchange for the receipt. curators don't have a real good sense of humor, that's all I can tell you. Nevertheless, so Copley would paint, Copley painted Hancock, Copley painted some British commanders, all pre-revolution. Although he's born and lives on what was known as the Long Wharf in Boston, no longer there, and he does his painting there. When the revolution begins, he goes to England and he lives the rest of his life there, never to come back. He dies in England and he's buried there. But Washington would have been extremely familiar with the paintings that he does. A very colorful, another piece of money, this time from New Jersey. On top of it being beautiful, we underscore a fact that is that this piece of money is talking to us. The Revolutionary War begins in April of 1775, right? Up in Massachusetts. This is March of 1776, less than a year later, but close to a year. What are we still printing on our money, even though we're at war with George III, right? We print, passed in the 14th year of the reign of His Majesty King George III, and a spectacular British coat of arms. So we're at war, but he's still our king. The notion that one would not want to be a part of the British Empire was foreign. We'll kill each other, but when it's over, we're still going to be British, right? Then the Declaration